They'll destroy you if you reveal this. Not because you're wrong, because you're right. And the right information in the wrong hands makes you a target. Machiavelli knew it. Sun Tzu knew it. Every ruler who survived betrayal knew it. Power isn't what you have. It's what you hide. You think honesty builds trust. It doesn't. It builds weapons. Every time you expose your limits, your wounds, your certainty, your plans, you hand people the manual to your destruction. They don't need to overpower you. They just need to know where to strike. And you told them. You gave them the map. You showed them the wound. You announced your boundary. And now you're surprised they used it against you. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming untouchable. Because the world doesn't reward vulnerability. It weaponizes it. The moment you reveal too much, you lose control. Not immediately. Slowly. Subtly. Until one day you realize everyone around you knows exactly how to manipulate you. And they do. Not out of evil. Out of survival. Because weak people need control. And the easiest person to control is the one who tells you everything. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in Exile. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations in private. Sun Tzu never revealed his losses. These men understood that power lives in silence. You don't announce your strength. You don't explain your strategy. You don't expose your evolution. You just execute. And when people finally see what you've become, it's too late to stop you, because they never saw you coming. So here's what you're about to learn. 6 things you must never reveal. Not to friends, not to family, not to anyone who hasn't earned the right to your truth. Because the second you expose these, you lose, and you don't get them back. This isn't philosophy. This is survival psychology. This is how you protect your power without ever having to defend it. Let's start with the one thing people test the most, your limit for betrayal. You think boundaries are about respect. They're not. They're about control. The second you announce where your line is, you hand people the map to your destruction. They don't need to respect it. They need to find it. And once they do, they'll stand right on the edge, testing how far they can push before you break. That's not respect. That's psychological warfare, and you're losing because you spoke first. Boundaries work in silence. You don't warn. You don't negotiate. You don't explain. You let them wonder where the limit lies, and when they cross it, you end it. No anger, no drama, just consequence. Cold, immediate, irreversible. The most dangerous people in any room are the ones you can't read. They smile, they listen, but you never know when you've gone too far until it's already over. That's power. That's survival. You become the consequence they fear, not the boundary they test. I learned this the hard way. I used to tell people exactly what I wouldn't tolerate. Disrespect, dishonesty, manipulation. I thought clarity was strength. It wasn't. It was a manual. They knew exactly how far they could go before I'd react. So they lived right there, right on the edge, draining me slowly. The moment I stopped announcing my limits, everything changed. I stopped warning. I just walked away. No explanation. No second chance. And suddenly people started treating me differently. Not because I demanded respect, because I made disrespect expensive. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote that a prince must be feared, not because he threatens, but because his actions are unpredictable. Fear doesn't come from violence. It comes from uncertainty. When people don't know your breaking point, they can't weaponize it. They can't manipulate you. They can't push you to the edge and watch you crack. You become unreadable. And the unreadable are untouchable. That's where real dominance lives. not in the strength of your boundary, but in the mystery of where it is. So stop telling people what you won't accept. Stop explaining your standards. Stop giving warnings. Let your actions speak. Let them discover your limits by crossing them and paying the price. You don't control people by teaching them where the line is. You control them by making the cost of finding out too high. Silence is your weapon. Consequence is your teacher. And the moment they realize they misjudged you, it's already too late. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's how you protect your peace without ever having to defend it. But boundaries are just the surface. Because the real war isn't fought at the edge of what you tolerate. It's fought in the wounds you carry inside. Everyone carries pain, but not everyone knows how to weaponize it. The moment you expose your wound, you give others the blueprint to destroy you. They'll smile, they'll sympathize, they'll tell you they understand. And then, when it serves them, they'll press their finger right into that scar and twist. Not because they're evil, because humans are opportunistic. Weakness is currency, and you just handed them yours for free. Your wound is not your identity. It's your evolution. Every scar you carry is proof you survived something most people couldn't. But the second you turn that survival into a story, you become the victim in other people's minds. And victims don't command respect. They attract parasites. People who feed on your need for validation. People who use your pain as leverage. They don't want you healed, they want you dependent. Because a dependent person is controllable, and control is what weak people crave when they can't build power themselves. I used to talk about my pain. I thought vulnerability was strength. I thought sharing my wounds would create connection. It didn't. It created targets. People remembered. They filed it away. And when I stopped being useful, when I stopped giving, they used it against me. Not directly. Never directly. Just subtle reminders. Little comments designed to make me feel small again. That's when I understood. Vulnerability isn't power. Discretion is. The world doesn't reward openness. It rewards those who turn their pain into fuel and never let anyone see the fire. Machiavelli never spoke of his suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations in private. Sun Tzu never revealed his losses. These men understood that power is built in silence. You don't heal by broadcasting your wounds. You heal by transforming them into wisdom and keeping that transformation hidden. Let people see your strength. Let them see your composure, but never let them trace it back to the source. Because once they know where the pain came from, they know where to strike. And they will, not out of malice, out of survival. Because people who feel powerless will always try to make you feel the same. So you guard your wound like a secret. You use it to understand others, their fears, their patterns, their desperation. You become the one who sees through manipulation because you've lived it. You become the one who doesn't flinch when others try to guilt you, shame you, or break you down. Because you've already been broken. And you rebuilt yourself in a way no one can see. That's the advantage. That's the edge. Your pain becomes medicine for others, but only on your terms. You help, you guide, but you never ever let them see the wound that taught you how. But even a hidden wound can't protect you if your certainty becomes visible. Because the moment they see you know too much, they'll come for that too. You see things others don't. Patterns, lies, motives. You've trained yourself to read people, to predict outcomes, to sense manipulation before it lands. That clarity is your advantage, but the second you announce it, you lose it. Because people don't fear the truth. They fear the person who holds it. And fear doesn't make them respect you. It makes them destroy you. Certainty is a threat. When you speak with too much conviction, when you see through someone's facade and say it out loud, you become dangerous. Not because you're wrong, because you're right. And being right exposes everyone else's blindness. It makes them feel small, stupid, vulnerable. So they don't attack your logic. They attack your character. They call you arrogant, paranoid, controlling. They gaslight you into doubting what you know is true. Because if they can make you question your certainty, they regain control, and control is all they have. I used to correct people. I used to point out inconsistencies, lies, contradictions. I thought truth mattered. It doesn't. Not to people who benefit from the lie. I'd see through a manipulator's story in seconds. The timeline didn't match. The emotion was rehearsed. The body language screamed dishonesty. And I'd say it. I'd lay it out clearly, logically, undeniably. And you know what happened? I became the problem, not the liar. Me, because I made everyone uncomfortable. I held up a mirror, and they hated what they saw. So they broke the mirror instead of facing the reflection. That's when I learned Machiavelli's most brutal lesson. The wise man does all that the fool proclaims. You don't announce what you see, you act on it. Quietly, strategically, without explanation. When you know someone is lying, you don't confront them. You stop trusting them. When you see a manipulator at work, you don't expose them. You distance yourself. When you predict an outcome, you don't warn others. You position yourself to benefit when it happens. Certainty is power only when it's silent. The moment you speak it, you hand them the ability to discredit you. And they will. Because people would rather believe a comforting lie than an uncomfortable truth. So you watch. You listen. You take note of everything. You see who lies, who manipulates, who pretends. You see the patterns in their behavior, the cracks in their story, the fear behind their bravado. And you say nothing. You let them think you're naive. You let them believe you don't notice. Because the person who appears blind controls the game. You move pieces they don't even know are in play. You make decisions based on information they don't realize you have. And when the outcome unfolds exactly as you predicted, you don't gloat. You don't explain. You just move forward untouchable because they never saw you coming. But certainty isn't the only thing that provokes fear. Sometimes it's not what you know. It's what you've become. And that perfection, that control, that quiet mastery, it blinds people in ways they can't forgive. You worked for it. The discipline, the control, the balance. While others were complaining, you were building. While they were indulging, you were refining. You didn't chase validation, you chased mastery. And now you have it. Your life is structured. Your mind is sharp. Your emotions are yours. You've become the person most people only pretend to be. And that's exactly why they'll hate you for it. Perfection terrifies mediocrity, not because it's unattainable, because it's proof that excuses don't matter. When people see someone who's calm under pressure, disciplined without effort, successful without arrogance, it exposes every lie they've told themselves. I don't have time. I'm too stressed. It's not fair. Your existence dismantles their narrative. You didn't need luck. You didn't need shortcuts. You just refused to be weak. And that makes them feel weak. So they don't celebrate you. They resent you. They call you cold, obsessive, unrelatable. Because if they admit you're just better, they have to admit they're just lazy. I've seen this play out repeatedly. The moment you start showing real results, physical transformation, financial growth, emotional stability, people stop rooting for you. They start questioning you. You've changed. You think you're better than us. You're not fun anymore. It's not concern. It's fear. Because your evolution is a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. They see someone who used to struggle just like them, but didn't stay there. And instead of using that as inspiration, they use it as an attack, because inspiration requires effort. Resentment is free. Machiavelli warned about this. He said the man who rises must appear humble, even ordinary, or others will conspire to bring him down. Not because he did anything wrong, because he did everything right. And excellence without humility feels like judgment, so you hide it. You don't post every win. You don't explain your routine. You don't show people the hours you put in while they were sleeping. You let them believe it came easy. You let them think you're lucky. Because the moment they know how much discipline it took, they'll try to break it. They'll tempt you. They'll mock you. They'll test your resolve just to prove you're not as strong as you seem. So you master the art of appearing normal. You laugh at their jokes. You blend in at their gatherings. You don't correct their assumptions. You let them believe you're just like them, struggling, uncertain, winging it. But you're not. You're 3 steps ahead. You're watching them repeat the same patterns while you've already moved past them. And they never see it. Because you don't shine. You don't perform. You just execute. Quietly, consistently, without applause. And when the results speak for themselves, you don't explain. You don't justify. You just continue. Because true power doesn't need to be seen. It just needs to be undeniable. But even hidden perfection can't protect you if they see where you're going. Because the most dangerous revelation isn't what you are now. It's what you're planning to become. You have a plan, not a dream, not a hope, a map. You know where you're going. You know the steps. You've studied the terrain. You've identified the obstacles. You've calculated the cost. And you're willing to pay it. That clarity is rare. That commitment is power. But the moment you share it, you invite sabotage. Because your transformation threatens every system that benefits from your stagnation. People don't want you to change. They want you predictable, controllable, safe. Your boss doesn't want you building a business on the side. Your friends don't want you outgrowing the group. Your family doesn't want you questioning the beliefs they raised you with. It's not malice. It's survival. Your evolution disrupts their comfort. So they'll ask questions. Why now? Are you sure? What if it doesn't work? They disguise fear as concern. And if you're foolish enough to explain your vision, they'll plant doubt in every corner of it. Not to protect you, to protect themselves from the discomfort of watching you leave them behind. I learned this when I started rebuilding. I had a clear path. New skills, new income streams, new identity. I was excited. I told people, big mistake. Suddenly, every conversation became a negotiation. You don't need to do all that. You're fine the way you are. Don't you think you're being extreme? They framed it as care. It wasn't. It was control. Because the moment I succeeded, their excuses died. So they tried to kill my momentum before it proved them wrong. I stopped talking. I stopped explaining. I just moved. And 6 months later, when the results were undeniable, they acted surprised. Like it happened overnight. Like I got lucky. They never saw the plan. They only saw the outcome. And that's exactly how it should be. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote, "He who seeks to rise must conceal his design until the moment of execution." You don't announce your independence while you're still dependent. You don't reveal your strategy while you're still building strength. You operate in silence. You let people believe you're still the same. You show up to the same places, you maintain the same routines. But behind the scenes, you're different. You're learning, you're earning, you're preparing. And when the transformation is complete, you don't unveil it. You just live it. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe yourself execution. So you guard your map like a military secret. You don't post about your goals. You don't share your progress. You don't celebrate milestones publicly. Because every post is a signal, every update is intelligence, and the people who want you to stay small are watching. They're waiting for you to slip. They're hoping you'll fail so they can say, "I knew it wouldn't work." But you don't give them that satisfaction. You move in silence. You build in darkness. And when you emerge, fully transformed, it's not a surprise to you. It's inevitability. And they'll never understand how it happened, because they never saw you coming. But transformation isn't the final secret. There's one layer deeper, one skill more dangerous than any plan, any discipline, any ambition. And if you reveal it, you lose everything. You see everything. The micro-expressions, the hesitations, the contradictions between what people say and what they do. You've trained yourself to watch, not just look, to listen, not just hear. You read the room before you enter it. You notice who avoids eye contact, who over-explains, who shifts blame. You see the alliances forming, the resentments building, the lies stacking up. And that awareness gives you an edge most people will never have. But the second they know you're watching, you lose it. Observation is dominance in disguise. It's the ability to predict behavior, to anticipate moves, to position yourself 3 steps ahead while everyone else is reacting. But power dies the moment it's recognized. The moment someone realizes you see through them, they stop being natural around you. They start performing. They curate their words. They hide their intentions. And suddenly, your advantage is gone. You're no longer reading them. You're reading a script they wrote specifically to deceive you. That's why the most powerful people in any room appear the least perceptive. They nod. They smile. They seem engaged but not invasive. And all the while they're recording everything. I used to make the mistake of showing my hand. Someone would lie and I'd call it out immediately. That doesn't match what you said last week. Your story has 3 different versions. I thought I was demonstrating intelligence. I was demonstrating threat. Because people don't want to be understood. They want to be believed. When you strip away their facade in real time, you don't earn respect. You earn fear. And fear makes people dangerous. They don't change their behavior. They change their strategy. They become more careful, more deceptive, more calculated. And now you're in a war you didn't need to fight, all because you couldn't keep your observations silent. Sun Tzu said it best. All warfare is based on deception. But deception isn't just about what you do. It's about what you let others think you don't know. You play dumb. You ask obvious questions. You let people explain things you already understand. You give them the illusion of control while you gather intelligence. You let the manipulator think they're manipulating you. You let the liar think you believe them. And all the while you're cataloging every inconsistency, every motive, every weakness. You don't react, you don't correct, you just watch. And when the time comes to act, you do it with surgical precision. No warnings, no confrontations, just consequence. And they never see it coming because they never knew you were watching, so you become invisible in plain sight. You participate in conversations without dominating them. You observe power dynamics without commenting on them. You notice who's angry, who's desperate, who's plotting, and you say nothing. You don't give advice unless asked. You don't offer insights unless it benefits you. You let people underestimate you. You let them think you're naive, trusting, maybe even a little slow, because the person who appears oblivious controls the entire game. You see the betrayal before it happens. You see the manipulation before it lands, and you move accordingly. Not with emotion, not with revenge, just cold, calculated adjustment. You cut people off before they can hurt you. You distance yourself before the collapse. You position yourself to win while everyone else is still figuring out the rules. The silent observer always controls the outcome. You don't need to speak. You don't need to prove you're smart. You just need to see clearly and act wisely. And when people finally realize you were 10 steps ahead the whole time, it's too late. You're already untouchable. You're already gone. That's not manipulation. That's survival. That's psychology. That's power. You now hold what most people will never understand. 6 laws, 6 shields, 6 reasons why silence is your strongest weapon. The moment you reveal your limits, your wounds, your certainty, your perfection, your map, or your observation, you hand others the tools to dismantle you, and they will, not because they're evil, because you made it easy. Machiavelli didn't write for the weak. He wrote for those who understand that survival demands concealment. Power isn't loud. It's not announced. It doesn't beg for recognition. It moves in silence, strikes with precision, and disappears before anyone realizes what happened. That's you now. If you apply this, if you stop confessing, if you stop explaining, if you become unreadable. But here's the reality. Most of you won't do it. You'll nod. You'll agree. And tomorrow, you'll go back to oversharing, over-explaining, seeking approval from people who don't deserve your truth. Because discipline is rare, and most people would rather be understood than untouchable. That's their weakness. Don't let it be yours. If you're still here, you're different. You don't need comfort. You need dominance. You don't need connection. You need control. And if that's true, then you need to go back. You need to watch the previous video. Machiavelli is still superior to all of you. 11 laws that nobody understands. Because what you learned here is containment. What you'll learn there is conquest. Those 11 laws will show you how to operate in a world built on manipulation, betrayal, and power. And if you don't understand them, everything you just learned here becomes useless. You'll protect yourself, but you won't dominate. And dominance is the only real freedom. Go watch it. Now. Not later. Now. Because every second you wait is a second someone else is using these laws against you. And you won't even see it coming. Then come back here. And in the comments, write this exact phrase. I reveal nothing. Not as a promise. As a declaration. As a mark that you understand what most people refuse to accept. That silence is power. That concealment is survival. That the one who speaks least controls most. The game is already in motion. The only question is whether you're playing or being played.